July 14th, 1969. There's a plane droning through the dusk over Honduras. It's a passenger plane, except there are no passengers on it. There are bombs, and there's a man standing at the open door, shoving them out by hand. 1, 2, 3, like the world's worst baggage handler. This is a real air raid in a real war between two real countries. Thousands of people will die in the next 100 hours, and history remembers it by one absolutely ridiculous name, the Football War, because it started over a football match. Stick around for the sort of, it's the best part. Okay, meet the neighbors. El Salvador, the smallest country in Central America, packed wall to wall, and most of the good farmland belonged to about 14 rich families. 14. Next door, Honduras, 5 times bigger, way emptier, land as far as the eye can see. If you were a regular Salvadoran farmer, the math was obvious. Over there, empty land. Over here, nothing. So you walked. By 1969, around 300,000 Salvadorans were living and farming in Honduras. Roughly 1 out of every 8 people in the entire country. For decades, honestly, it mostly worked fine. Then the Honduran economy hit a wall, and the government did the classic move, find somebody to blame. It started enforcing a land reform that said Honduran land was for Honduran-born Hondurans. And wouldn't you know it, the easiest land to reform belonged to Salvadoran migrants. By spring 1969, thousands of families got pushed off their plots and walked back across the border, carrying everything they owned. Then the newspapers got involved. Papers on both sides. Some nudged along by their own governments, went completely feral. Honduran front pages. They're stealing your country. Salvadoran front pages. Our people are being brutalized. Some of it true, plenty of it invented, all of it in the biggest font the press could print. All they needed now was a room to meet in. Enter FIFA. Because guess which 2 teams got drawn against each other in the qualifiers for the 1970 World Cup in Mexico? Honduras versus El Salvador. Home leg, away leg, and if they split those, a third match on neutral ground to settle it. Winner moves 1 round closer to the World Cup. Loser goes home and stews. In June of 1969, scheduling those games in that month is like booking the family reunion for the same afternoon as the reading of the will. Nobody at FIFA did it on purpose. The draw is the draw. The pot just happened to contain a bomb. Match 1, June 8th, Tegucigalpa, the Honduran capital. The night before the game, the Salvadoran players try to get some sleep in their hotel. The Honduran fans have other plans. They surround the building all night, leaning on car horns, banging pots and pans, setting off firecrackers, throwing stones through the windows. Sleep deprivation as a defensive formation. And you know what? It worked. The next day, 11 Salvadoran sleepwalkers shuffle onto the pitch and lose 1-0 to a goal in the dying minutes. Honduras goes bananas. El Salvador takes it poorly, like national crisis poorly. Match 2, June 15th, San Salvador. And the home fans had spent the whole week thinking about revenge the way you think about the perfect comeback at 3 in the morning. The Honduran team's hotel got the deluxe version of the same treatment. Horns, drums, broken windows. Plus, according to reporters on the scene, rotten eggs and dead rats sailing in through the gaps. Dead rats. Someone brought dead rats to a football match. The Honduran players had to be driven to the stadium in armored cars. And at the anthem ceremony, instead of the Honduran flag, which had already been burned for the crowd's entertainment, the host ran a filthy, tattered dish rag up the flagpole. A dish rag. That's not hooliganism anymore. That's performance art with a grudge. El Salvador won 3-0. And honestly, nobody on the Honduran side seemed that upset about it. Their coach, Mario Griffin, reportedly said afterwards, "We're awfully lucky that we lost." Read that again. The coach, relieved, because he wasn't sure a winning team would have made it out of the stadium alive. When your post-match analysis is, "Thank God we played terribly," the tournament has officially stopped being about football. And this is where the story stops being funny for a minute. Around that second match, visiting Honduran fans were beaten in the streets, cars with the wrong plates set on fire. Back in Honduras, mobs turned on the Salvadoran migrants themselves, and tens of thousands more people packed whatever fit in a bag and fled. The border closed. Both governments started quietly shopping for weapons. Quick reminder, technically we are still covering sports. Match 3. June 26th moved to the Azteca in Mexico City. Neutral ground, with 1,700 Mexican police forming a wall down the middle of the stands. A football match with the security budget of a coup. And here's the twist nobody remembers. It was a genuinely great game. End-to-end, 2-2 after 90 minutes, extra time. And in the 101st minute, Mauricio Pipo Rodriguez sweeps in the winner. 3-2 El Salvador. Fireworks, tears, joy. And that very same day, El Salvador cut all diplomatic ties with Honduras. They won and escalated. Officially, it wasn't about the football. It was about the treatment of Salvadorans in Honduras, and that part was real. But the timing was 100% the football. 18 days of border skirmishes later, July 14, 1969, Salvadoran planes crossed into Honduran skies at dusk, and we're right back at our opening scene. And oh, the planes. Both countries were under a U.S. arms embargo, so nobody could buy anything modern. And both air forces flew leftover World War II museum pieces. El Salvador brought P-51 Mustangs and Corsairs. Honduras scrambled, also Corsairs. They'd shopped at the same American Army surplus sale. And since El Salvador didn't own real bombers, they improvised. Load bombs into a passenger plane, open the door mid-flight, have a guy push them out over the target, by hand, aiming with presumably vibes. The planes were American. The grudge was strictly local. On the ground, the Salvadoran army rolled across the border at 2 points and started taking towns. Which sounds insane. Tiny El Salvador invading a country 5 times its size. A Chihuahua tackling a Great Dane. But the Chihuahua had the bigger army, and the Chihuahua was furious. For about a day, it genuinely looked like El Salvador might just win. Then Honduras made exactly one brilliant decision. Its planes ignored the army entirely and bombed El Salvador's fuel depots at the port of Acajutla. No fuel, no advance. The Great Offensive slowed, sputtered, and ground to a halt in the hills. They'd planned the invasion in detail. Nobody apparently had planned the gas. Meanwhile, up in the sky, aviation history was being made completely by accident. July 17th, a Honduran pilot named Fernando Soto, flying a Corsair, a machine built to fight over the Pacific in World War II, shoots down 3 Salvadoran planes in a single day, including a Mustang. Propeller against propeller, machine guns chattering, like a scene from 1944 that got lost in the mail for 25 years. It remains to this day the last dogfight between piston-engine planes in history, and appreciate the timeline. While Soto was dogfighting in a Weber-Twee Corsair over Central America, Apollo 11 was in space, on its way to the moon. Same week, same species, allegedly. The whole thing lasted about 100 hours, 4 days. The Organization of American States grabbed both countries by the collar, threatened sanctions, and pulled them apart. Ceasefire on July 18th. And this next part gets said plainly, no jokes. Around 3,000 people died, most of them civilians. Some 300,000 Salvadorans lost their homes. The very migrants the whole conflict was supposedly about. They fled Honduras, arrived in an overcrowded El Salvador that had no land to give them, and got nothing. 100 hours of war, and the people at the center of it paid the entire bill. Okay, deep breath. You haven't heard the ending yet. Because El Salvador, remember, won the prize. Well, almost. Beating Honduras only put them into one last qualifying round against Haiti, which they also won in extra time of yet another playoff, because this team refused to do anything the easy way. So El Salvador went to the 1970 World Cup. The tournament a war got named after. Here's their complete campaign. Versus Belgium, lost 3-0. Versus Mexico, lost 4-0. Versus the Soviet Union, lost 2-0. 3 games, 0 points, 0 goals. Not a few. Not one near miss off the post. 0. A nation went through riots, dead rats, a severed diplomatic relationship, and an actual shooting war. For a tournament where its team scored exactly as many goals as you have, sitting there watching this video. So, was it ever really about football? Come on. Countries don't send Mustangs over a qualifier. It was about land and hunger and 300,000 people nobody wanted to take responsibility for. It was about two shaky governments, both run by generals, both desperate for an enemy that wasn't them, and newspapers on both sides selling rage by the kilo. That fire was stacked and soaked in kerosene long before anyone kicked a ball. The matches didn't cause the war. They gave it a schedule, a date, a scoreboard, and an enemy shirt to point at. The name Soccer War got famous because a Polish journalist, Ryszard Kapuscinski, was there and later put it on the cover of a legendary book. And fair enough, it's a much better headline than the Land Tenure and Migration Policy War. One last thing, El Salvador and Honduras didn't sign an actual peace treaty until 1980. 11 years later, the border dispute took 23 years. An international court finally settled it in 1992. So look at the scoreboard. The war, 100 hours. The peace, 11 years. The border, 23. The football, 90 minutes. Okay, plus extra time. Still the only thing anyone finished on schedule. And the fact I can't stop thinking about, the last World War II-style dogfight in human history wasn't over Berlin or the Pacific. It was two neighbors in borrowed antique planes during the week of the moon landing, fighting over a game whose winner went home without scoring a single goal. Humans, we contain multitudes, most of them poorly organized.